Hello everyone, my name is Janina. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you my reading wrap up for the month of June, and I had a surprisingly good reading month, to be honest, by which I mean I read 9 books in total, I think. And yeah, without further ado, let's just get started and look at the books that I have read in June. The first book that I read was actually a German book, and it's called Dame mit Charme. I think in English it's called Guts. It's a nonfiction book by the author Giulila Enders. I'm not really sure how to pronounce her, but she is a German student who studies biology, and it's a nonfiction book about our guts. So it's all about how our stomach works. It was really, really interesting because, to be honest, I mean, maybe it's a bit TMI, but I have a lot of stomach problems. I have stomach aches a lot. So it was really interesting to see a little bit more about how everything works. And I learned quite a lot while reading this. It was fun to read as well because her writing style is very funny and she explains everything really well so that everyone and everybody can understand it. She also explains kind of like do's and don'ts and how food, like how your stomach reacts to certain foods, and it's very, very educational and very based on facts. So it's really, really interesting. I actually enjoyed this quite a bit, even though it was a nonfiction, but I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. But it was really weird for me to read a German book because I'm only reading English books like 99% of the time. So sometimes reading a German book can be kind of awkward, I don't know. But anyway, it was fun to read, and if you want to learn more about your stomach and how everything works and why it does the things that it does, I really recommend this to you if you want to learn more about your guts, I guess. The second book that I read in June was Simon versus the Homo sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, which is a young adult contemporary book about the main character, Simon, who is a young gay boy who has email conversations with another boy who is gay as well. And they kind of talk about how it is to be gay, but also being closeted because they're both not out. They kind of talk about their whole experience being closeted and how it would be if they were out. They talk a lot about private things as well. So we have that whole plot about Simon and his email friend who is called Blue and how they talk, but also we follow Simon in his day-to-day life while being in high school, meeting his friends, and how hard it can be to not be really true to yourself because he hasn't told anyone that he is gay. So why we follow him through his high school life, another person finds his emails between Simon and Blue, and that person is blackmailing Simon. That person is saying to Simon, I will show everyone your emails if you don't get me closer to that girl. So Simon is being blackmailed by that person, and he doesn't really try to get them closer like that guy and that girl, but it's a really like awful thing to do and a really awful experience that Simon has. I enjoyed this book. It was alright, but sadly it was not like this super great read and this super fun and amazing and wonderful read that everybody makes it out to be, like for me at least. It was fun, it was fine and cute. The romance wasn't that amazing, and to be honest, a lot of the like high school stuff and a lot of the like relationship problems between Simon and his friends really made me cringe because they're all so young, and like their problems, they just make me roll my eyes a lot, and I felt like I'm reading a mediocre high school fan fiction, to be honest, because the writing wasn't that amazing either. It wasn't like this wonderful, amazingly detailed prose, which is like, of course, it's like a high school story, young adult. I mean, oh, I get it, but it was fine. It was fun. It was a light read for in between, but it won't be my favorite book of all time. But a lot of the topics that were brought up in this book, I think, were really important. a lot of topics were touched upon, like how it is to be gay, how, or like how it could be for people who are gay, and what a coming out can mean to people who are yet to like come out, especially for younger readers. I think it's a really good book. So yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5. It was nice, it was fluffy and cute, but not the greatest book I've read yet. So yeah. Moving on. The next book that I read is Alpha and Omega by Patricia Briggs, which is a 80 pages long mini novella. It's like this pre-novella before the Alpha and Omega series by Patricia Briggs as well. It's about the characters Anna and Charles and how they meet each other. They're both werewolves, and yeah, it's kind of like this really small story how they meet each other and how they get to know each other. And I read this in like a few hours, and I really enjoyed it. It's an urban fantasy series, or the start of an urban fantasy series, and I gave this novella 3 out of 5 stars. Yeah, I enjoyed it though, and after that, I started reading the Alpha and Omega series by her. So I read book 1, 2, and 3. The first one being Cry Wolf, the second one being Hunting Ground, and the third one being Fair Game. All of them are by Patricia Briggs. We kind of follow Anna and Charles through their adventures as werewolf, kind of, and how the relationship progresses. Anna is a very, very, I wouldn't say broken woman, but she went through a lot. She went through a lot of really brutal and difficult times, and then she meets Charles, and Charles kind of like helps her. I wouldn't say he doesn't help her through it. He just made her realize that she can protect herself because she is a very strong woman, I think. It's an urban fantasy, like I said, so it deals with fair, with vampires and all that urban fantasy, paranormal stuff. We follow these two characters and kind of their, like, the characters around it, like Charles' father and his brother as well. And in every book we have new characters. Like every book deals with a different case. It's sometimes it feels like they have like one problem and they need to solve that one. So I feel like they're a little bit like paranormal investigators, a little bit, but they aren't. Like I enjoyed it so much. I was so surprised that I loved these books so much, especially the first two. I loved. I loved the first one so much. I gave it 5 stars. The second one I gave 4.5 stars, and I think the third one I gave 4 stars something. And I'm reading the fourth book right now, so I love it because it's kind of just fun, you know? It's easy, not complicated, and you kind of get attached to the characters, and they're cool and nice and funny, but it's not like you're like overly super hardcore emotionally invested like I am in some other series, you know? Anyway, I love it so far. Anna and Charles are very, very flawed people. They're full of flaws, really, and that's so interesting. Like they're very three-dimensional. They're very interesting characters, I think, and they are very good for each other. They have really, really intense love and a really intense relationship, these two, which I super enjoy. Yeah, love it. Highly recommend. I can't wait to continue with book 4, and I already ordered book 5, so love it. Moving on. The next 2 books that I read are Magic Bites and Magic Burns by Ilona Andrews, which are book 1 and book 2 in the Kate Daniels series by her. I think it's a like 10-12 part series, and I always wanted to start it. I'm like starting to like these paranormal urban fantasy books with kind of like a little bit of romance and action and supernatural beings. And I read the first book. It's about Kate, who is a mercenary, and she kind of hunts all these supernatural beings. Yeah, we follow her, how she meets different supernatural beings, and it's kind of like the same principle as the Mercy Thompson series, where you have like this main character and there's like a problem or a case, and she kind of tries to solve it, and weird things are happening, and she tries to find out what's really happening. It's kind of the same principle, I guess, but like these first 2 books I gave the first book 3 stars. I gave the second book 2 stars. Did not like it. I don't care for Kate at all. She is so immature in my opinion, and she goes into everything without thinking first, and I don't really care for her. I don't really care for the characters that much. I didn't like the writing at all. I felt like the fighting scenes were very, very boringly written. Yeah, I didn't care for it. I will not continue with the series, which is a pity, I guess. But I mean, I got my Alpha and Omega series, which is great. But yeah, it was like the first book was fine, but the second book I really did not like it, so I will not continue with it. But happens. It's okay. I know better now, so yeah. The last book that I read was Mage on the Hill by Angel Martinez, which is a gay romance book about a boy named Toby who has kind of this wild magic in himself, and which breaks out and hurts other people and himself. So he goes out and tries to find the mage on the hill. He goes to that mage on the hill, and that mage kind of helps him how to control this magic that is inside of him. And they fall in love. Obviously, I mean, I said it's a gay romance book, so of course they fall in love. Duh. But we follow these two characters, how they try to solve that problem of Toby's wild magic and how he can control and contain it. And they meet some friends that help him, and you know, stuff happens, and there's a plot twist at the end, which was kind of meh. But it was fine. Like, it was fine. It's an easy read. I didn't really understand the setting very much because it's like I said, it has like magical he has magical abilities, but I think it's set in our modern times because they have a computer and they have a phone and use messengers and stuff like social media. And I didn't really care for that setting because I don't know, I wasn't really into that, to be honest, but it was fine. It still worked for it. I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, which is a high rating for a gay romance book, in my opinion, because normally they all get 1 or 2 stars from me because they're all really terrible. But this one was fine. I like the characters. If there's ever a second book, I will probably pick it up as well. So yeah. This is the last book that I have read in June, and yeah, my biggest recommendation would be the Alpha and Omega series, of course, because I ranted about that for the longest in this video. That's it from me for today. I hope you did enjoy this video, and tell me what you read in the month of June or what you want to read in July now. I'm reading, like I said, book 4 in the Alpha Omega series. This is all what I'm going to talk about for the next few weeks, I guess. So anyway, I hope you're all doing well, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!